Hello dear students, welcome to the YouTube channel of Konar Classes. Today we are going to discuss a new topic called integral calculus. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about the introduction to integrals. So let us first understand that what is the motivation behind learning integration. Okay, so if you recall, during the learning of differential calculus, it was the process of learning the derivatives. What is actually meant? It meant is that if you have a curve y equal to fx, okay, and if the visual representation of the curve is something like this, okay, suppose this is x-axis, this is positive direction of x-axis, this is origin, this is negative direction of x-axis, this is y-axis, positive direction, this is negative direction of y-axis, and we have a curve something like this. Okay, suppose this is a curve, and this curve we defined y equal to fx. This is the curve. Now the differential calculus, the derivatives, was all about studying. The motivation behind differential calculus was that if we have a point, okay, if I denote a point in a different color, if we have a point here, okay, at suppose this is the point P having coordinate alpha comma beta, so differential calculus was all about defining the tangent to the curve y equal to fx at the point P alpha comma beta, and then once the tangent is defined, then we find the slope. If this angle is theta, then we define m, the slope is equal to tan theta. Okay, that we know from the coordinate geometry. And also we can define in terms of the differential calculus is that this m is nothing but f dash of alpha. That means that you find the derivative of the function fx, that is f dash x, and then apply x equal to alpha to find the slope of the curve at that point. So that was the fundamentals of derivatives, to define the tangent and the slope. So what is the motivation behind in the integral calculus? The motivation behind integral calculus is that the find the area under a curve. Okay, what does it mean? It means is that suppose we have a point here. Okay, suppose this is a point A. This point is capital A. Its coordinate is a comma 0. Okay, and this is another point B, and its coordinate is b comma 0. Then that integral calculus, the motivation behind integral calculus is that to find the bounded region. Okay, bounded region by what all curves and the lines. This is the curve y equal to fx, then the x-axis, then there are two straight lines. That first straight line, that is equal to x equal to a, right? This straight line equation is x equal to a, and this straight line equation is equal to x is equal to b. So the motivation behind learning integral calculus is that to find the area under a curve. So I summarize, dear students, is that the motivation behind derivatives was to to find the tangent of a curve and finding the slope, and the motivation behind learning integration is that to find the area under a curve. That is the motivation. Now let's start that how we can begin with the study of integral calculus. Think about that we have a function y equal to fx. Okay, we have a function that y equal to fx, and that function is differentiable at a particular interval I. Okay, so what we can write, that fx is differentiable at a particular interval I. That means what? That means, it literally means that f dash x means the ddx of fx. Okay, that means differentiation of fx with respect to x. That means f dash x is exist is f dash x, we can write f dash x exist at each point in I. That means in that defined interval at each point, interval it could be a closed interval or open interval, at each point that function that f dash x exists. Okay, now let us come back to a very basic question. If the derivative of a function is given to you, can you find what is the function whose derivative was that? That means what? Suppose f dash x is given to you, f dash x is given to you, and the question has been asked is that can you find what is fx? That means whose derivative that is f dash x. Or the other way what I can say is that suppose I write ddx of a function. Okay, I do not know what is that function, but I know that if I differentiate that function, I get a function, suppose gx. Okay, can you find what is this function? And that is actually all about our learning about the inverse process of differentiation. That means what? If we know this function, if we derive it and get this one, then that means what is that we should process something on gx to get back this. You may think, sir, why it is required? Let me give you an example. What you know about velocity? Velocity is nothing but rate of change of displacement with respect to time. Now suppose an instantaneous velocity is given to you. That means that velocity is given to you. Okay. Now if the question arises that could you please find the position of a point at a particular instant, to answer that question, we need to know what is integral calculus. And that is one of the motivation behind learning integral calculus, along with whatever I have defined here in this one, that finding the area of a curve. So dear students, so what we understood is that given the derivative of a function, okay, can you find the function whose differentiation was that function? That is what is that one motivation, and that is actually part of indefinite integration. Okay, and the second one is that if we have a curve and we need to find the area under a curve, that is also a part of integration, that is called definite integration. So dear students, if I summarize that there are two differentiation, one is that indefinite integration. So let me write it here. Okay, so let me write it here. The first one is that given the derivatives of a function, derivatives of a function okay, can we find the function? Given the derivative of a function, okay, we need to find the function. We need to find the function. Okay, this leads to indefinite integration. Okay, so let me write it down. So this leads to indefinite integration. Indefinite integration. Okay, now the second one is that area under a curve. Okay, the second one is that area under a curve, and that leads to the definite integration. That leads to definite integration. Okay. So in summary, what I can say is that suppose you know, a derivative of a function, given the derivative of a function, that means what? If I can explain this thing here, is that the ddx of a function, okay, is given. So suppose it is given as gx, okay. Given the derivatives of a function, we need to find the function. That means if this function is fx, that function we need to find. So that means if this function, as I was telling, if this function is fx, so we need to find this fx, and that is the part of indefinite integration. In another few minutes, I will tell you why the word indefinite has been used. And area under a curve, what does it mean? This means is that suppose that we have the graphical representation of a curve, okay. So this is the coordinate axis, this is origin, okay, and we have a, well, let me draw the curve in a different color. Suppose we have a curve something like this, okay. Okay, and there are points. So what are the points? So let me define the points here. Suppose this is one point, that coordinate is a comma 0. That is another point, its coordinate is b comma 0. And all we need to do is that, you know, we need to make this, you know, bounded region, okay. Sorry, we need to make this bounded region. This bounded region, determining the area of this bounded region is what we can call it as a definite integration, okay. So now let me tell you in brief is that when we find the function fx, that ddx of fx, we will see that not only one function we can find for which we get the ddx of that fx equal to gx, rather it is possible to find many versions of these functions, okay. So that is why, as it is many, it is not definite. That is why it is called indefinite integration. Whereas when you find the area under a curve, so this area, if you see this particular area, okay, so this one is absolutely have a definite value. Tell me, if I give you any area, it has a specific value, okay. So that is why specific means definite. That is why it is known as a definite integration, okay. Now let us find that why it is indefinite integration, okay. That the first one, okay. To discuss about this indefinite integration, so now let me rub off you know, this particular portion, okay, of definite integration. And before we proceed further, another point I would like to tell you, that the fundamental theorem of calculus gives a very good connection between definite integration and indefinite integration, okay. And in this session we are not discussing about the fundamental theorem of calculus. We will discuss in some other session, and then we will find the connection between the definite integration and indefinite integration, and that gives significance of learning definite integration in many fields of engineering and mathematics and economics, okay. And as I said in the beginning, that in the indefinite integration, if I give you the you know, instantaneous velocity of a particle, can you tell me what is the position of the particle at a particular time, okay. That is also you know, the part of, you know, learning integration. Now the point is that why we will spend some time on emphasizing the word indefinite integration. So what we have learned so far is that suppose we have a function, okay, and that function we defined as gx, and we do not know that whose function, which function's differentiation if we get is called gx. That means we are not aware of this fx, we are not aware of it, okay, but we are aware of gx. Then the question is that how to find that fx, okay. Let me give you an example. So if you think of ddx of some function is equal to given to you as cos x. Now which function it is whose differentiation is cos x? Maybe many of you can tell, oh sir, it is sin x, okay, and whose differentiation is cos x, okay. So now, as I said, a very simple function called cos x you are able to tell, but instead of cos x, if I tell some complex function, okay, let me give you an example. So if I say, okay, ddx of which function is equal to, x to the power 5, okay, so then you need to think, maybe you can do that anti-derivative process, that is the inverse process of differentiation. Then you can you cannot give that answer very quickly. Indefinite integration will help us to give that answer very quickly. But before we proceed further, let's go back to this one. What we said, that ddx of sin x equal to cos x. Now if I say that, okay, if ddx of sin x equal to cos x, why not about that ddx of sin x plus one constant c, that should also be equal to cos x? Why? ddx of sin x plus c, where c is a constant, that means ddx of sin x plus ddx of c, correct or not? And ddx of c means what? Differentiation of a constant, that is always equal to 0. So what I wanted to mean is that if I write that ddx of sin x plus c, where c is a constant, so that is equal to ddx of sin x plus ddx of c, correct or not? Now ddx of sin x will come, okay, so that we already know this is equal to cos x, okay, but this plus c is always 0. So this cos x plus this is 0. So that means it is not only ddx of sin x is cos x, that ddx of sin x plus c is also cos x. Cos x plus 0 is equal to cos x. So what we see, dear students, it is not only ddx of sin x is cos x, ddx of sin x plus any constant, that is also equal to cos x. Now what is the value of this constant? You can take the value of this constant as 5, I can take the value of that constant as 7.3, someone else can take the value of c is equal to minus 11.44. Okay, so now for all these values of c, we get a different function whose differentiation is exactly same. So that is why when we are inquiring about this function, this fx, okay, this is not a definite function, it is an indefinite, hence the word indefinite integration. So what I said, dear students, in short, if I can say, is that the moment we are inquiring about ddx of fx is equal to gx, all we are concentrating on finding the value of fx, correct or not? Because gx is given. So from here what we can say? From here we can say that ddx of, when you are going to find the value of fx, so not only you can find the value of fx, you can find that fx plus c, that should also equal to the same gx, where c is a constant. Now as I said many times about c is a constant, so it is known as a integrating constant. Okay, if we perform that integration, then you get the integrating constant. So what you understood, dear students, that if the differentiation of a function is given to us, we can find many functions whose differentiation is the given function. That means if gx is given to us, we cannot only find a single function whose differentiation is gx, Rather, we can find many functions whose differentiation is gx. Okay. So then what we can define, dear students, here? That from here, what we can write? We can write the moment we see that ddx of fx plus c is equal to gx. So that implies that, that we need to process that gx so that we get fx plus c. And here we introduce a new symbol, that is the integration symbol. This is the symbol which represents the integration. That means gx dx is equal to fx plus c. Okay, so now this c, where c is integrating constant, or it is also known as constant of integration, whatever you can say, that constant of integration. Okay, dear students, fine. So this is all about the fundamentals of indefinite integration. Okay, so how to proceed further? The way to proceed further is that we need to remember some formulas. If the for integration, whatever the formulas, we can find it out. Okay, so let's do one by one. Okay. So here let it be written here. Okay, we can do it here some. Okay, so for example, that ddx of, we know that ddx of x cube by 3, okay, that is equal to what? Is equal to, if you calculate, that means 1 by 3 is constant taken out, then ddx of x cube is equal to 3 into x square. So that 3 and this 3 will get cancelled. So what I am saying is that we can write 1 by 3 into ddx of x cube. So that is equal to 1 by 3 into 3 into x square, correct? So that means what we get is that this is equal to x square. I just wrote these intermediate steps. So what I can say is that the ddx of x cube by 3, you can directly write that is equal to x square. So from here, what we can say, dear students, is that integration of x square dx is equal to x cube by 3 plus 1 integrating constant, that where c is the integrating constant. Always remember the same thing, that where c is the integrating constant or constant of integration. Now let's proceed for the next one, that the moment we see that that ddx of x cube by 3 is equal to x square, then integration of x square dx equal to x cube by 3. Okay, in the similar manner, there are many formulas we need to remember. So what we need to do? We need to do that, remembering many formulas, okay, and it all obtained by antiderivative methods. Okay, so let's find those formulas. Okay. So dear students, we can write this thing, that ddx of x to the power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1 is equal to x to the power n, correct? Obviously. So now then, from antiderivative method, okay, what we can say, that is also known as the primitive. Okay, that means integration of x to the power n dx is equal to x to the power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1 plus an integrating constant c, and subject to the condition that n should not be equal to minus 1. Obviously, if n is equal to minus 1, then it is not going to be defined because it is divided by 0. So what we see here, that ddx of x to the power n plus 1 by n plus equal to xn, that means that integration of x power n should be equal to integration of x power n dx should be equal to x to the power n plus 1 by n plus 1 plus c. Correct? So this is one thing. Second thing is that, we know that ddx of sin x, okay, ddx of sin x equal to what? Is equal to cos x. So this implies what? This implies integration of cos x dx should be equal to sin x plus c, and in all this case c is a constant of integration. Now we know that ddx of cos x is equal to minus sin x. Okay, from here what we can say, that means integration of minus sin x dx is equal to cos x plus integrating constant, or we can write is that integration of sin x dx is equal to minus cos x plus c. Okay, in the similar manner we can proceed. Okay, I will proceed after some time, but before that I would like to tell you few terminologies about this integration. Okay, so whenever we write that integration fx dx, okay, let us understand few things. Okay, the first thing is that the function, okay, whose integration we are going to find, so this function is known as integrand. Okay, this is known as the integrand. Now if you look into this particular x, okay, so this x is known as the variable of integration. Variable of integration. So this is a variable of integration. Now what we see is that this one is a symbol of integration. Okay, so this is, let me use a different color. So this is a symbol of integration. It is symbol of integration. Okay, now that entire thing, that integration fx dx, okay, that entire thing is called the integration, the value of the integration, the process of integration, the way you want to define. So what I say is that the entire thing, okay, that is what is called that the process of integration. Process of integration. Okay, process of integration, and what the value we get out of it, that means whatever the value we are going to get out of it, that is equal to, we get gx plus c, and that c is known as the integrating constant. So this c is known as integrating constant. Integrating constant. So dear students, so whatever we have learned so far, that in the entire integration there is an integrand, a variable of integration, symbol of integration, process of integration, okay, then the integrating constant. Okay, so these are the different terminologies of integration. Now let's go back to the formulas what we are discussing. that ddx of x to the power n plus 1 by n plus 1 we have done. So now let me go back to my note and tell you what are the different integrations are there. Okay, so one by one we will see, and let's see that how the value we are going to get it. Okay, so now you can also write along with me, dear students. So you know that ddx of tan x, what is ddx of tan x is equal to sec square x. So this implies that integration of sec square x dx, that is equal to tan x plus c, correct? The next one is that ddx of minus cosec x, ddx of minus cot x is equal to cosec square x. Okay, so this implies that integration of cosec x dx is equal to integration of cosec square x dx is equal to minus cot x plus c, the constant of integration. Okay, then it is coming the ddx of sec x, ddx of sec x. What is the ddx of sec x, dear students? It is equal to sec x tan x, So now this implies integration of sec x tan x equal to sec x plus c. So integration of sec x tan x dx is equal to sec x plus c. Correct, dear students? Okay. Now let's go back to the next one. So that is equal to integration of minus cosec x, ddx of minus cosec x, ddx of minus cosec x, that is equal to cosec x cot x, that is equal to cosec x cot x. That implies integration of cosec x cot x dx equal to minus cosec x plus c. This implies integration of cosec x cot x dx equal to minus cosec x plus c. Okay. So what do you need to do? Remember, during the differentiation, you remember those differentiation formulas. So in integration also you need to remember this integration formula so that you can apply those and get the result. Okay. Now let's come to the next set of formulas, that is the inverse trigonometric functions formulas. Okay. Okay. So let me write it down here. So integration of ddx of sine inverse x, ddx of sine inverse x is equal to 1 by square root of 1 minus x square. So that implies integration of dx by square root of 1 minus x square is equal to sine inverse x plus c. Okay, got it? Similarly, ddx of minus cos inverse x. Okay, so ddx of minus cos inverse x is equal to ddx of cos square root of 1 by, okay, what I am saying is that ddx of minus cos inverse x is equal to 1 by square root of 1 minus x square. That implies what we can say is that integration of dx by square root of 1 minus x square is equal to minus cos inverse x plus c. Next formula, dear students, so that is equal to ddx of tan inverse x. So we know that ddx of tan inverse x, okay, that is equal to 1 by 1 plus x square. So this implies integration of dx by 1 plus x square is equal to tan inverse x plus c. The next one is that ddx of minus cot inverse x equal to 1 by 1 plus x square. ddx of, cot inverse x is equal to, minus cot inverse x is equal to 1 by 1 plus x square. This implies integration of dx divided by 1 plus x square is equal to minus cot inverse x plus c. Correct? Now let's look into the other formulas, dear students. So ddx of sec inverse x, okay? So ddx of sec inverse x, okay, that is equal to 1 by x into square root of x square minus 1. So this implies integration of dx by x into square root of x square minus 1 is equal to sec inverse of x plus c. Got it? Then what it comes is that ddx of minus cosec inverse x. So what we get here, ddx of minus cosec inverse x is equal to 1 by x into square root of x square minus 1. This implies integration of dx by x into square root of x square minus 1 is equal to minus cosec inverse x plus c. Okay, dear students, got it? So now you may think that you see the differentiation of these two has the same function. Possible, that's why it is indefinite integration, right? That we have the same integrand, that is 1 by x into square root of x square minus 1, but it has two different values. Okay, that is why it is indefinite integration. But if we find the definite later, we will see that it is the same value. Okay, now let's proceed with the other set of formulas. Okay, so let me write it here. Okay, so here the question is that ddx of e power x, we know that ddx of e power x is equal to e power x. So that implies integration of e power x dx is equal to e power x plus c. The next formula is that ddx of log of mod x, ddx of log of mod x is equal to 1 by x. Okay, So that implies integration of dx by x is equal to log of mod x plus c. Correct? The next one is, the next formula is that the ddx of a to the power x divided by log a is equal to a to the power x. Okay, so this implies integration of a to the power x dx is equal to a to the power x divided by log a plus c. And as I said, dear students, in all these formulas, you know that c is the constant of integration. Now, what about the formulas we have discussed in the last few minutes? Okay, it is all about that antiderivatives. Why it is antiderivatives? Is that we know the differentiation of a function, so then its integration is going to be that function whose differentiation was that function. Okay, so now in the next session we will discuss the geometrical significance of integration and we will proceed further. Please provide your comments and we will meet in the next session. Thank you very much.